SDG8, Decent Work and Economic Growth.
Sustainable Development Goal 8, SDG8, is centrally focused on achieving sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. It outlines an ambitious agenda for development that should be achieved by 2030.
That ambition is certainly complex, especially when you consider the concept of decent work itself. The International Labor Organization, ILO, defined decent work in 2019 as spanning a spectrum of needs, including equal wages, employment security, safe working conditions, and the protection of social welfare measures. But the research suggests we are far from achieving these benchmarks.
Indeed. An ILO assessment in 2019 indicated that most countries still have significant progress to make toward inclusive and decent employment for everyone, and overall development on SDG 8 was decelerating. The goal promotes growth, employment, and decent work for all individuals, aiming for higher economic productivity through diversification, technological upgrading, and innovation. However, focusing purely on economic growth, measured by metrics like GDP per capita growth, Target 8.1, is problematic. Critiques highlight that economic expansion alone does not eliminate inequalities. We also know that simply having a job doesn't guarantee an escape from poverty in many places. The core issues underlying the challenges of achieving SDG 8 are deeply rooted in pervasive gender inequality, structural disparities created by market economies, and the neglected vulnerabilities within the informal sector.
One of the most glaring barriers to realizing decent work opportunities for all under SDG 8 is the persistence of gender inequality. Despite international commitments, gender bias, income discrepancies, and underrepresentation of women in senior positions still hinder inclusive and sustainable economic growth. SDG 8 aims for full and productive employment and decent work for all women and men by 2030, Target 8.5.
The data strongly reflects this difficulty. Women are less likely than men to find paid employment when they enter the workforce. For instance, statistics from South Africa in 2021 showed the unemployment rate for women was 8.1 percentage points higher than for men. Women consistently face barriers like the glass ceiling, workplace discrimination, and occupational segregation, particularly in male-dominated fields like engineering or construction.
And we must not forget the missing link: unpaid care work. Women globally spend 2 to 10 times as much time as men on unpaid care labor, which is connected to discriminatory social structures and stereotypical views on gender roles. Because women must perform this unpaid labor due to family commitments, they often have to accept insecure jobs, hindering their career advancement and salary potential. This uneven distribution is not fully accounted for in the analysis of labor outcomes, like participation, salaries, and job quality.
Addressing this requires comprehensive strategies for targets 8.5 and 8.8, such as prioritizing equal pay for equal effort, enacting policies that support work-life balance for working mothers, advocating for an equal allocation of caregiving obligations, and investing in education and skills development to help women secure stable employment. Let's turn to market economies. While they are credited with promoting economic expansion and efficiency, they also produce conflicts between labor and capital, unemployment, and income inequality. The inherent logic of capitalism focused on competition and accumulation is seen as opposing the social justice goals of the SDG agenda.
This focus on profit-driven market dynamics falls short of effectively tackling structural disparities, exploitative labor practices, and insecure working conditions. We see evidence of wage theft, the illegal underpayment or non-payment of wages, which is driven by the necessity for capital to extract surplus value from labor. This exploitation persists despite well-established legal frameworks, even in advanced economies.
It's a paradox. The purely market-based labor markets offer opportunities for skill development and innovation, yet the emphasis on efficiency leads to constant disruption, automation, and a skills mismatch, often resulting in de-skilling and skills polarization for the workforce. Furthermore, workers are participating in their own exploitation and accepting precarious conditions due to insufficient work protection. Encouraging these precarious positions makes achieving Goal 8 on decent work more challenging.
The fundamental issue is that the sustainability agenda embedded in SDG8 does not adequately address the ingrained systematic exploitation that is characteristic of market economies. The primacy of capital and market notions of justice are reinforced by the idea of sustained and inclusive growth rather than tackling the structural injustices that maintain exploitative labor. The informal sector represents a critical vulnerability. SDG8 often does not adequately address the challenges faced by informal workers, such as domestic workers, street vendors, and waste pickers, who lack essential rights like legal protection and social security.
The sector is crucial globally, comprising more than half of the global labor force and over 90% of micro and small enterprises worldwide. Work in the sector is typically characterized by unsafe and unhealthy conditions, low or irregular incomes, long working hours in family-based enterprises, and limited access to finance or training. Informal workers are vulnerable because they are usually not recognized, licensed, regulated, or protected by labor legislation and social security systems.
That vulnerability exposes them to exploitation. It is argued that both the market and the state often fail to deliver optimum economic welfare to informal workers. Although the informal economy contributes significantly to GDP and overall production, policymakers often overlook the social and environmental value produced by these workers, such as promoting the circular economy and sustainable development.
Target 8.3 explicitly calls for promoting development-oriented policies that support productive activities and decent job creation, and encourages the formalization and growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSEs, worldwide. Cooperatives, in particular, offer a promising alternative as they already support and strengthen the economic activities of self-employed producers and entrepreneurs in the informal economy by providing a formal framework, shared services, and a way to negotiate for appropriate social security.
Finally, we must confront the tension between economic expansion, a crucial aspect of SDG 8, and environmental sustainability. The unrelenting pursuit of economic development under purely market-based frameworks can lead to ecological destruction.
This is the heart of the criticism of SDG 8. Target 8.3 aims to improve progressively global resource efficiency in consumption and production and endeavor to decouple economic growth from environmental degradation. But achieving this absolute decoupling, where economic expansion continues while environmental consequences decline, remains challenging.
Some scholars argue that the continued global economic growth of 3% per year, as stipulated by Goal 8.1, is empirically infeasible to reconcile with ecological sustainability goals, such as those related to climate action, SDG 13. This pursuit of GDP development in a neoliberal capitalist society often comes at the price of ecological sustainability.
The situation is worsened by insufficient data. For example, as many as 96 nations lacked data on SDG 13 climate action, making it difficult to adequately assess progress across countries and time. If we are to achieve equilibrium, revolutionary changes in consumption patterns and production processes are needed, embracing green technologies, circular economies, and renewable energy sources. SDG 8's framework currently lacks sufficient integration of environmental sustainability.
Given these multifaceted challenges, from persistent gender gaps to environmental conflicts, it's clear that achieving SDG 8 requires a paradigm shift. Promoting decent work necessitates tackling these intertwined issues head-on.
Absolutely. We need to implement multifaceted strategies. This includes challenging purely market-based labor market conventions, ensuring legal protections and social security for informal workers, and strengthening the focus on integrating environmental sustainability into economic practices.
The Indonesian experience, for instance, shows resilience in maintaining an on-track trajectory for SDG 8 implementation, despite the severe economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. They achieved this by realizing governance and coordination mechanisms, like forming task forces for equal employment opportunity, engaging in multi-stakeholder consultations with trade unions and private industry, and mainstreaming SDGs into national strategies, like the e-commerce roadmap and the circular economy concept.
That country's resilience, marked by swift economic recovery and declining unemployment rates post-2021, highlights the critical role of strategic planning and execution in crisis times. However, Indonesia's data also reveals ongoing challenges, such as the misalignment between education curricula and industry demands, which contributes to youth unemployment, and disparities in wage equality between men and women.
Therefore, progress demands coordinated efforts, new policies, and a firm commitment to social justice. The goal must be to ensure that decent work is seen not just as an objective of economic development, but as a fundamental human right.